There are many wonderful things that you do. I wonder how if you just sort of took it just a little bit steadier tempo, just to sort of let all the sort of harmonies come through even more than they already are doing. So maybe we could start from the beginning and sort of see where that takes us. Maybe the quavers can be have a little more ring to them, so a little freer. Just a little bit more time. And also maybe to be careful not to do da-da-dum ba-ba, so. So, and maybe this could be just to have a little bit to show the variation. And maybe not to land quite so heavily, just a little lighter on that note. Okay, maybe if we can bring just the lower notes out just a little bit more. They're very even, they sound fantastic, but I think that if you hear that a little bit more. Maybe somewhere in the middle, not quite so loud, so it's still only forte. So maybe not quite such a full sound. It still needs to have a fullness, but maybe just a little bit less. that was beautiful. I love the color that you get there. Maybe for the forte, can we try not to have maybe quite so much of an accent? I think we can show that it's forte without. And just a little bit steadier tempo as well. Of course, you must do it at the speed you want to, but just for now, just a little bit steadier, just to sort of to get all the nuances even more. Maybe from the forte. And with this, maybe it can sort of be more sort of 2 bars. Be careful not to do that one too heavily. So if we think more instead of so maybe pick it up from dum da 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 da. Somewhere in between, maybe without the time, but try, and this is very much, I think, sort of we are heading towards there. So if we try to think of that more a little bit as 2 bars. Not. Just a little bit. I'm exaggerating, of course. I'm exaggerating, but just to try and go through a little bit more to sort of really ring out for that one, for that bar. And here, I think we can have a slightly different sound from this forte. This one is much more open somehow. Maybe even take a little bit of just a little bit of time just to really bring those notes out, just for now. Yeah, exactly. And here, really enjoy. It's not a question of taking time, but really enjoy the way the notes are going instead of it's weird. Sort of really going da 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 dee da 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 da. Try not to be, those were a little louder this time. Try and keep us, I mean, it sort of has to grow a little bit, but if we are starting with forte, then that's kind of a mezzo fortissimo kind of, so just a little bit louder, but if we can be careful not to sort of to have the crescendo and to have it growing up naturally. So. Just a little bit more space. Okay, that was lovely. Maybe here we can do something to show that a little bit more. Maybe going a little bit quieter. I'm not sure how you'd like to do it, but just something to show a little bit of differentiation. Maybe once more from there. In the piano here also, maybe is there a way of having the sound with a little more depth, so it's sort of more like if you were speaking very, very quietly. Okay. Maybe could we just go from here one more time, just so we have the connection? maybe to keep the piano right until here. At the minute it's maybe getting a little loud, so we don't get the sudden shock of... and so on. So without a break. So to have the same thing but without. Maybe if we just go from this piano, just to get a bit more run in. But be careful not to swallow the note. So really small amount of bow, but really maybe a little bit more with the wrist rather than the fingers, so that it's possible to get a little bit more depth. So a bit more. Maybe once slowly. A little bit more. Yeah, just to have the sort of slightly more concentrated sound. Once more from the piano, please. Here, I think we can have, again, a little more variation. So maybe just to bring out the theme notes just a little, so practice. So this time it can sort of be a little bit more released in the piano, but have a little bit more depth in the forte. Okay, so the bow that you have, the bowing structure that you have for the piano is also wonderful for the forte. So maybe just a little less bow, but just a little more depth of sound, if that makes sense. It needs to be a little bit lighter in the piano, I feel. Okay. Here, I think it can have more of a sort of organ-like sound. So. You have a wonderful articulation of each note, but I think it can have a sort of a slightly more expansive feel here. So just. I'm bringing out the notes as you do, exactly. Here, I like very much what you're doing and sort of taking a little bit of time, but still carrying on. I wonder if we can make a little bit more with the tenuto. Maybe not that much, but just I think the tenuto probably. I'm not sure which it's a shot. So maybe it's just sort of a mindset rather than actually doing it, but just to sort of remember that da 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 dum ba ba bum ba ba bum dum ba ba bum ba ba bum. A little less maybe, and be careful not to do too much of an accent on the first note. I think maybe we can have a slightly different color. This one is very open. This one is a little bit more searching. So. Just sort of a little bit more closed. Maybe if you could just do that one, and then here just to sort of go a little bit slower, just to sort of try to find the color a little bit more, just from there. I think maybe not to accent them, it's more not. Because ultimately we want to hear. So it's sort of on one and then continuing the phrase. Think a little bit more, not to accent the first note, but just to sort of have a little bit more weight. But to sort of to continue. Okay, so here a little bit more closed. The sort of the feeling is a little bit more closed, even though it's still very, very active. It's a little bit more searching. So. So really enjoy the intervals and the harmony that is written down. Maybe once more from the mezzo forte. And here it was maybe a little too loud now. And whilst we don't want to spoil the surprise, maybe just to sort of have that feeling. Once more from the mezzo forte, please. And this to me is a very special kind of moment. So maybe we can have not getting louder necessarily, but just to have a little bit more feeling of the tension within the passage. Once from the piano, mezzo piano, please. Exactly. So just be careful with this. I know it's not a nice connection, but if it's possible to have it a little bit more close. I don't know. I can't remember how I think I did. Maybe if you with two. It's a little bit closer. Exactly. And maybe if we can be careful not to land too heavily on the E sharp, it should be a little. Okay, so I think here we can do maybe a little bit more. Just to have a little bit more kind of question and answer idea going through this passage work. So da 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 da, or landing there, whichever. But just a little bit more ebb and flow. Once more from the mezzo piano, please. Be careful not to move too far forward. And here we're just a little bit more a little bit more shape maybe there. Exactly. Just play it one more time for me so I can hear one more time what you were doing. Just once more from the mezzo piano, please. Exactly. But maybe not stopping quite so much. Because I think if we can kind of keep going a little bit more with the line until here, dun, bum, bim, dun, 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 dun. That's where it doesn't relax, but it sort of sits back a little bit. Once more from there, please. I wonder if we can, just sorry to stop you, here on the F sharp, again, not to take time, but just to sort of create a slightly different color. So just especially on the F sharp, just a little bit more of a color change. Maybe just from, it's fine. Somewhere in the middle, maybe not with vibrato, but so I think that maybe it can sort of have a little bit more space, not necessarily slower, but not to rush into it so much, because there are so many different colors and so much information that if we move too fast, which I remember when I played this piece was very tempting, it just sort of, you don't hear necessarily quite everything. So here again, so when we have just sort of to have a little bit more space within it. Maybe just once more from. I think it's the sound, it's the color. It can have a little bit more depth. Just a little, especially this one. And this is lovely, but now maybe not quite so much of a different dynamic, just a feeling rather than the actual dynamic change. Once more from there, please. Maybe we can make more of this, but also the fact that this is kind of the same. So kind of going until there and then going back shape. So again, sort of slightly like this, a slight not a hairpin in terms of dynamic, but just in terms of feeling. So again, like here, I think it can be a little bit more expansive, so maybe a slightly. So just a little bit broader, the bow, just a little bit broader, just to have that slightly sort of more expansive sound. So sort of to go into the string a little bit more, not to have a thick sound, but because it sounds wonderful how you were doing it, but I think if you have that little bit more depth, then you hear a little bit more rather than. So just a little bit less bow and a little bit more arm weight. Here, it's fine to do it forte, but maybe not quite so much to sort of land on the forte. As I think you've written down ba 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 ba. So try and connect that a little bit more. And here again, I think just to have the feeling of not to accent, but just to think of dun da 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 dum ba da dum ba da dum bum ba da dum ba da dee, and then you land more happily there, maybe. More like that, but try not to accent. It's just that it's just for the direction to think of where to go, not to necessarily make it more. Maybe could we just do from 43 one more time, please? Okay, now maybe it's a little bit too heavy, the sound. It's somewhere in between. Could you play it once slowly for me, please? Okay, so maybe try. Try one more time, please. Okay. And then up to tempo, please. Try not to do with vibrato. I think it can be. Okay, I think the shape can be a little bit more connected somehow here. And really enjoy that sort of reminiscence back to. Maybe just from 55, please. Okay, and again with this feeling, especially in this bar, I think the sort of the line going down to there and well actually to there is really important. So. Maybe there's not to take time there, but just to have a little bit of space. Yeah. Here, I think I very much like the separation that you have, but if it can just be, it still needs to have that bite, but just a little bit, because we've gone into the piano, so the piano character is a little bit softer, a little bit more round, maybe. Rather than, so not quite as active. And then that is more of a surprise that way also. Do you mean to get a little bit quieter there? Yes? Okay, in that case, I'm saying nothing. Maybe it can just, I like the color change, I think is probably where you're coming from, and that's great. I think it can still be maybe just a little less diminuendo than you're doing, but still doing a diminuendo, so. Try maybe instead of, and to the color change, maybe try and stroke the G sharp a little bit more. So rather than just to take that little bit of time. It's not taking time, but just to sort of have the space within that. Once more from there. And so in that case, maybe a little bit more differentiation between that dynamic and the piano is also good. So less active in the bow, but more active in the fingers in the piano. So because then that will also change the character a little bit more. I'll try once from there again. But only in the fingers, not in. So it should just have a little bit of a kind of just a little bit more space, maybe. One more time from 5. But be careful not to dum ba ba bum. So that is more of a surprise. And here, I understand what you're doing. I like it very much, but maybe it can go, the direction can go forwards a little more until we get to the piano, so that it doesn't start and stop too much. So maybe just, and here when we get to this, maybe just a little bit more playful. It can be a little bit more playful. So, sorry to stop you again. That was lovely. Maybe just without the break this time. So. Maybe we can make a little bit more of. I'm exaggerating, but just that little kind of flip back to that, maybe once. Last time, please. Something maybe without getting louder. It's more of the dum ba 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 bum, kind of a slight lightness of feeling here. And here maybe this can be just a little bit more piano, so that this comes out a little bit more. Oh, actually it comes. Last time from there. It's when you go onto the E string, it gets brighter naturally. Of course, it will get brighter, but maybe if we can try and compensate that with a little less bow. And almost thinking a kind of diminuendo, but da-dum, ba-da-dum, just a little bit. So if you use less bow here and then a little bit more, and also a little bit more weight in the bow hand there, it will also help to create, I think, a little bit more of an effect. Exactly. But so just now, sorry, but just to try with that same activity, but without accenting. So really, it still has to be a kind of almost a stroking motion, but forte. Still, try once to do it with exactly the same amount of bow for the piano and the forte, just to get the sound and the connection, and then we can start broadening it out a little. That was, how did that feel? Was it okay? Okay. Here, I think the piano can be a little less, so. Try once more from there. And here, again, just to sort of so when you get to the forte, it can be a broader bow, but with no accent. So we can enjoy this because it's a little bit different. So maybe. Just something not to go straight through it. I think we can take. It's not a question of taking time necessarily. It's just having the space within the notes and between the notes to really sort of appreciate the beauty of them a little, even more so than you're already doing. Could we go from 79, please? Okay, so this crescendo, I think we can, if we can start it a little bit later, so. I haven't played it for a very long time, I'm sorry. We're sort of searching to find the direction that we want to go in, so I think it can, without rushing, have a little bit more sort of that kind of searching feel. It's not agitato, but just a sort of, where are we going? Da-da-da-da-da-dum, ba-ba-ba-da-da-dum, da-da-dum, sort of a little bit more direction through, if that makes sense. Just once from there. Exactly, I liked very much, and with the time that you were taking, just a little bit of space down, ba ba bum. That felt very, very nice. What you just did. I would say not to rush into that. Maybe not to land on the note like I just did, but just to take a little bit. So I think the last thing, because I think we have to finish, try and bring out the dum bum bum dee da bum a little bit more, just to have the feeling of just to bring out all of the bass notes a little bit, and the sort of so to have that line going up and down. Just from there, one more time. Something, yeah, exactly. Just to sort of not to accent them, but just to sort of think of them. I'm afraid I think we have to finish. Thank you very, very much. Bravo.
Okay.